time at Anfield. So happy to be able to say this. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. Thomas Tuchel is still unbeaten as Chelsea's head coach. A massive win. I cannot underestimate that. Personally, for me, there is no better feeling than beating Liverpool, especially at Anfield. We haven't done it in the Premier League since 2014 when Diego Costa scored. So it's been that long, really, Jose Mourinho's time. Great to finally break that sort of little hoodoo really away from home at Anfield in the Premier League. A stunning winning goal by Mason Mount. A beautiful moment, a coming of age moment in some sense for Mason Mount, who absolutely deserves it. Currently Chelsea's best player. Some amazing performances tonight. Andreas Christensen, who was exemplary once again. A coming of age performance for him, a redemption arc, almost, poetic and sort of cinematic in a sense. I think personally for me, someone who's really judged Christensen harshly, got to being a bit of humble pie, in the sense of him in the middle of that back three, especially at ground tonight like Anfield, putting in that performance, the performances we've seen against Atletico Madrid and recently, that back three working so well. Jorginho performing wonderfully in the middle of the park once again, alongside N'Golo Kante, who was world class tonight. There were so many performances tonight that I can look at and say, even like Timo Werner, who I think was really unlucky, should have had a goal. I'm sure we can maybe get into that. I'm glad we don't have to get into that too much because it's not of a negative stance. Chelsea have won this game and very rightly. But I think sort of the way Chelsea approached tonight and won this game, sure, there was a defensive sense more in the second half of Chelsea sitting back and trying to counter a little bit more. But the way we passed the ball out, progressed it from deep, from the back four, past the Liverpool press, I think was so impressive to me. And I think it shows you a Chelsea team that maybe can finally evolve from a counter-attacking team, or at least a reactive team, into a more progressive team. Because I think we saw that tonight at a big ground in a big game where Chelsea were under pressure to get a result. I think it wasn't a must-win game, but it was a game you felt psychologically. I think this is the thing for me, that the biggest thing about tonight for me, as was the Atletico Madrid game, psychologically, I hope these are all things that currently for Chelsea that have struggled in recent years in being a team that can compete seriously for the Premier League title, being a team that can compete seriously in the Champions League. I really hope under Thomas Tuchel, and that man deserves so much praise in what he's done in such a short space of time, really can start to build momentum. There's a long way to go. You don't want to start saying that, Chelsea are going to win everything right now, but I'm extremely excited, and I was very happy with that performance tonight. To beat Liverpool, for me, it's a success. If you beat Liverpool in a season, especially at Anfield, maybe you think it's low standards, but I love beating Liverpool. And in a sense, one title when you're giving it the big one. Liverpool really struggling right now, when Chelsea went there and exploited their weaknesses to great effect tonight, and probably should have had more than one goal. I think absolutely that Timo Werner goal, I don't want to spend too much time wasting my breath on VAR and the ridiculousness of Premier League officiating, but that should have been a goal. I don't know. Suddenly now, we can score with our arms. Apparently, that's something that's apparently a new rule. But Timo Werner, I think the way Chelsea, in particular, tactically, really done Liverpool tonight. Obviously Tuchel looking at not only in his personnel, I think we saw for the first time, I think tonight we saw the best elements of Tuchel as a tactical coach, of looking at his current squad. There has been a sense that we've been struggling in attack. There's been a sense of caution around what he's done so far. But I think tactically tonight, the way he exploited Liverpool's weaknesses, I think was brilliant. The way he set up that front three, in particular, using the speed and pace of Timo Werner and also Mason Mount, Ben Chilwell on that left side as well, progressing the ball from deep. That's been something that Chelsea have struggled with in recent games, really progressing it and creating from deep. Jorginho and N'Golo Kante were incredible tonight. There are so many good performers I could speak about. Mason Mount scoring the heroic winning goal. What a night for him personally. We'll get into that. Andreas Christensen, an exemplary performance. There were so many key performers out there tonight. I think, the starting 11 was quite interesting to me because he didn't alter it too much. I think I got like 10 or 11, 10 of the 11 sort of predicted right from my predicted 11. Jorginho did come back, Reece James as right wing back instead of Callum Hudson-Odoi, who didn't start and didn't feature at all tonight. And the front three, Ziyech, Mount and Timo Werner, they sort of had it up on the graphic that Timo was playing as a central striker. But I always felt that wasn't going to be the way it was, because if you've been watching Chelsea recently, Timo doesn't really play as the focal striker in this system. I think the way Tuchel is lining up so far, and I felt this in certain games, I felt it away to Spurs a few weeks back, I think this currently at Chelsea, where whatever happens in the summer in terms of signing a striker, it seems to be under Tuchel with this system. We work better in a false nine system, or a system where you don't have an obvious forward, an obvious focal point. Not only in the way we progress the ball from deep, want to play it on the floor mainly, and as well if you want to sort of exploit a high line, that's great for a player like Timo Werner in transition. It's unfortunate not a lot of teams in the Premier League play with a suicidal high line like Liverpool tonight that Timo could exploit. But I also felt the way Ziyech, and especially on that left side, we think about Chelsea creatively. Ziyech didn't do a lot tonight, in truth. He couldn't really get into the game because the game wasn't really suited to sort of his ability. I think that, and especially Chelsea, who spend a lot of the time attacking down the right, spent nearly all of it tonight attacking down the left, because they knew, and I said this yesterday, Trent Alexander-Arnold, if you can pull him out of position, there is space to exploit in behind, and Chelsea did that wonderfully. And you've got to give credit to not only the players for executing that on the pitch, but clearly Thomas Tuchel seeing that as a weakness that many teams have focused on this season, and Chelsea time and again doing that. But I felt that overall tonight, from the first half, I was a little bit concerned in the first half. I think the first half for me, it seems to be both teams feeling each other out, both teams doing similar things in the sense of trying to create chances, from Trent Alexander-Arnold or Andy Robertson, as they usually create Liverpool, trying to get that ball behind our defensive line into Sadio Mane's, Roberto Firmino, especially Mohamed Salah, who had really terrible nights tonight in front of goal, luckily for Chelsea. And it was the same for Chelsea, trying to get the ball in behind for Timo Werner, Mason Mount and Hakim Ziyech. And I was a little bit concerned that our back three, a bit like when we were at Anfield last season, was going to be isolated against their front three. That didn't happen as the game went on, and Chelsea, I think, gained more confidence and a footing on the game, and also a footing on the ball with players like Jorginho really dictating things. I think the game absolutely altered from there. And I was so impressed with Chelsea's just constant ability to expose that Liverpool backline. It should have been a goal for Timo Werner, but I think that showed you instantly what Chelsea could do. And I really hope that moment didn't stall Chelsea. It didn't. Chelsea kept going, and we got the goal luckily before half time. N'Golo Kante, apparently Kante can't pass well. A lovely floated ball. Him and Georgie work so well together, defensively, offensively, in possession. Kante having a Super Cup level performance tonight, especially something against when he sees Liverpool, he seems to take it up a notch, which is brilliant for me. But I think Kante tonight, in terms of course, intercepting, being that harrying player, winning the ball, getting the touch to it at certain points, that's so key for Chelsea to win back the ball in dangerous areas. But as well, that floated ball to let Mason loose, basically, and Eden Hazard would have been proud of that. Eden scored a few wonderful goals at Anfield down the years, and I think that Eden would have been proud of that goal from Mason Mount. And for all the Mount haters out there, for all the nonsense, the absolute nonsense that gets spouted about Mason Mount, really, you have to be silent tonight, and you have to accept, if you don't like Mason Mount, if you don't understand why Mason Mount's a quality footballer, to me, you don't understand football. And that may sound harsh, but, tonight he steps up at a big moment and wins the game for Chelsea. A quality footballer who for me, it just represents, it's so nice to see, he was essential under Frank Lampard. He's essential under Thomas Tuchel. As many people were saying on Twitter, the likes of Michael Cox, who is a great football analyst, was saying his spatial awareness, his tactical intelligence, things that unfortunately I think some people dismiss in his game. That's why he's playing for Thomas Tuchel, and that moment of excellence, of finishing so wonderfully to win Chelsea the game. It was a goal worthy of winning any game, really. Luckily, it was the winning goal in the end. But Mason, a massive moment for him, celebrating in front of the Kop. A big moment for Mason Mount in his career, who absolutely deserves all the plaudits because he's worked so hard in a difficult season for Chelsea. He's been that consistent player, and I think by the end of this season, he'll likely be Player of the Year, because I think he absolutely deserves it. But that second half, we couldn't get in behind as much, but I was quite impressed once again as Liverpool pressed up the pitch, how we nullified their attacks, nullified their front three. Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino getting nothing tonight, really. And that was not the case a year ago, even earlier this season. And the way that back three, Dave, Christensen, Rudiger, worked wonderfully. The way I loved how Rudy was so aggressive in the tackle against Mane when he shifted over to the right. Rudiger having one of his best performances in a Chelsea shirt. Christensen too, always in the right place at the right time, that middle of the back three. And Mendy, whenever he got the ball from a goal kick, was always looking for Christensen, who's so calm and collected on the ball. I've criticised Christensen's passing tonight, but we saw the best elements of it, that coolness, and Chelsea progressing the ball from deep. It was so calm, and it was so brilliant to see a Chelsea side go to an away game. You know, the way we've won at Anfield in the past, not quite like this. You know, Chelsea being that confident and extroverted and progressive on the ball, and showing, I think, Chelsea fans that we can win in this style under Thomas Tuchel, and players like Jorginho on his best day can do it. And there were some lovely passing moves that unfortunately probably should have led to a few more goals on the night, but it shows you now under Thomas Tuchel, a few more weeks, a month under his belt now, what this team could potentially achieve in the future. And yeah, you know, there weren't tons of chances. I do think some of the subs Tuchel made had sort of an adverse effect, or didn't have the effect I think we wanted them to. I felt Christian Pulisic was a very smart sub at the time, because I felt that Chelsea needed a little bit more pace, especially on transition if we're sitting a little bit deeper and we can get the ball to Pulisic. Unfortunately, that never really happened. Timo didn't really get as many chances, but it definitely was still coming down that left side. I think he got one chance against Alisson. And I think Kovacic as well, maybe once again, I was a little bit concerned that sub taken off Mason sort of took away a player from the attacking third for Chelsea, and I did worry it was going to sort of make us sit a little bit deeper, which did, but Liverpool were never able to get close enough to the goal to really threaten us. And that's on the whole team, the structure of the team that's looked so good, and it's a big win. It's a big win for Chelsea. It's a big win for Thomas Tuchel. I think it's a big win for me. Hopefully we'll look back at this night and recent nights as well as big landmark moments, you hope, in the early months of Thomas Tuchel's reign. Of course, a lot can change in football. We know this. A lot can change, especially at a crazy club like Chelsea. But we've just got to celebrate this win. And let's hope we've got Everton, a top 4 rival, on Monday. We can, you know, go 4 points clear of them. It's so good at the moment for Chelsea. And there's so much to build on, so much to be positive about. And I just hope that we can build on this. And next season, Chelsea can go on to new heights, basically, because if we can produce performances like this on big stages more often, we'll be definitely going in the right direction under Thomas Tuchel. I could speak about this victory all night, basically, beating Liverpool away from home, but thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. I'm going to have more reaction about this game and more news in the coming days as well, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you guys once again. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you again.